So how many different ways of learning did Benjamin Bloom and his colleagues come up with? Three. So we've got the long names for them, the formal names, the cognitive, the affective and the psychomotor. But a really good way of remembering is learning through the head, learning through the heart, learning through the hands. So head, heart, hands. We're going to explore those in greater depth, but let's go to the next page, where there's an activity for you to look at those teaching methods that will hit the head, the heart and the hand. So just read the instructions at the top of page 42. So you're going to be working in your teams again to do this. So we've got John and Ryan, Eric and Rob, and then Vivian, Chris and Dave. So you're going to come up with 2 teaching methods that might address the head, and then 2 for the heart, 2 for the hands. Bearing in mind that on page 35 you have that massive list. Now before we do that, let's just look at some examples. Looking at the first learning domain, then the head, can you tell me why case study would address the head? Why do you think case study would address the head?
It's facts, looking things in the box.
It's facts, it's things you've got to know perhaps. So you've got to know certain things before you can solve a case study. So to analyse, you've got to know certain things. What about the heart next? Role play. Why might role play address the heart?
When you're doing role play, you put them in situations, and that situation then can generate emotions, which is part of the heart and the response.
Absolutely. That's exactly it. For example, if you role play telling a partner that their spouse has been killed in a RTA, road traffic accident, you could read about it, well, so what, but if you act it out in front of a small group, you're going to get a lot more from it emotionally, aren't you? You're going to feel how it feels to be the person giving the news and how it feels to be the person receiving that news. So very much something that will stay with you a lot more than any other teaching method. And the hands is quite straightforward. If you get people to make something, an end product, could be a cheese toastie perhaps, or produce something with a service that's a hairstyle. If they're skilled, they'll do it well. If they're unskilled, they'll do it very badly. If you have a badly tasting toastie, a dreadful hairstyle. So there we go. Have a look on page 35 if you want. So in your teams, could you look at 2 more for the head, the heart and the hands? Right, we're nearly there. You're done?
I think we're just about done, yeah.
Excellent. And you two are done, John and Ryan, yeah? All done up there?
Yeah.
Right, let's make a start then. So, John and Ryan then, could you give us one for the head?
Lectures.
Lectures. Let's ask your colleagues then, are you happy that lectures is a head activity? Sounds good? Excellent.
Yes.
Thank you very much. So, Eric and Rob then, one for the heart this time.
The heart.
Yes.
Presentation.
Let's ask your colleagues then, are you happy that doing a presentation is a heart activity?
No hands.
Well, we're looking at the hands, aren't we? Sorry, the heart. So is it a heart activity?
I would have thought that's more of a head activity personally. It depends how much involvement you get.
Well, do you need to have a bit of confidence about the presentation?
If you're doing it, yes. If you're the one that's delivering it, yes.
Yes.
Yes. Yes.
This is, yeah, you're quite right. But however, if you're watching the presentations, you might be enjoying it or hating it.
Well, yeah, it's true.
That's a feeling.
True.
So I think there's lots of emotion in the presentation, delivering it or receiving it. So
Okay.
it's either going pretty well or it's going pretty badly.
Yeah.
So yeah, I'm happy with that, thank you. And Vivian, Chris Chris and Dave, one for the hands this time.
Hands, we've got action learning.
Action learning. Learning by doing.
Yes.
Are your colleagues happy with that?
No.
Yeah, so if you're doing stuff, then often you need to have the skill to do it. Let's go round again then. Ryan and John, this time one for the heart, please. One for the heart.
Discussion and debate.
Discussion and debate. The rest of you, are you happy with that or not?
Yeah.
Out of discussion and debate, which one might be the most emotional?
Debate.
Debate.
The debate.
The debate, yeah. Because people get very, very focused on yes or no, pro or against. Absolutely. Thank you both. So, Eric and Rob, one for the hands this time.
Work experience.
Work. So we're looking at a practical work experience.
Yeah.
The rest of you, are you happy with that?
Yeah.
We got to put that under emotional, because you could have some very different experiences
Yeah.
It
depending
could be
who you're
emotional.
working with.
And it could also be the head, because surely you need to have the knowledge. So you've actually hit on a key thing, is that lots of these would involve another
the
one or
groups.
two.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. I think work experience is a very good one, because you're working with colleagues, you might be working with customers, that's a heart thing, and obviously you need to have the knowledge in order to do the job in the first place. And finally then, Vivian, Chris and Dave, one for the head this time.
We got use of library and research.
Resources.
Research, so you're using the library, doing the research.
Yeah.
The rest of you, are you happy with that one?
Yeah.
Yes, so it's predominantly a reading thing, and we need our brain to do the reading. Now, you have hit on the fact that not only do we need to teach in not just one or two, but possibly all three of these learning domains, and then you're onto a winner. Now, I used to teach accounting. It sounds quite dry. So how can you get the heart engaged in teaching accounting? Why?
Yeah.
Well, yeah, it's all about the money.
Well, giving them the bad news they owe tax or something. I suppose you'd engage that into a situation where that if they're dealing with someone after they're qualified, it's the experience they're going to have with the people. So the heart gets engaged because obviously they either feel sorry for them or they're elated for them or whatever. So it's that experience of giving good and bad news type of thing.
That could be one of many ways. A simple way to do it is what we've looked at earlier on, is to say to people, well, could you down to a trial balance perhaps, and then present to us how you did it. So they know they've got to do something, they also know they're going to be on show. So there's that emotional kick there. Well, I'm going to show it to my colleagues then, so I better make sure I do it right. And they're going to feel quite proud when they have got it right and their colleagues confirm, yes, that is right. But obviously the other emotion is they'll feel a bit that they've let themselves down if it's wrong. But they're both things are emotional. So peer presentation sometimes is the key to that emotional thing. Also, not only teaching in the head, the hands and the heart, but also you might have to assess. Now in driving, which do you use? The head, the heart and the hands? Is it one of them, two of them, or all three?
All three.
Why do you say all three? You're quite right. Why do you say all three?
You've got to physically drive.
Yeah,
You've got to use your head while you've got to be looking ahead, thinking about what you're doing.
yeah.
And your heart, you have to.
You have to keep
You've got to keep your temper sometimes.
Yeah. It's the etiquette of the road, isn't it? And there's a behaviour that we expect.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. And often it's the behaviour which undoes lots of us. Because we do get a bit cross, fed up, frustrated. We do things that perhaps we shouldn't be doing.
Yeah.
So if we can get all of those into our teaching and our assessing, we're on to a winner in that we can grab everybody in some way. Now the question at the bottom is, which learning domain might be the most important? What do you reckon?
Depending on the person, surely.
The
Depending on the student.
Well, there might be
Then
university
they're equal.
one. Sorry, Eric?
Then they're all equal.
Possibly, but actually there might be one that's more important than any of the
I
others.
think going back to, didn't we say somewhere that if you're emotionally involved, you're more likely to retain it? Was there something in there?
There was indeed, which is the heart. Now let's see how that works on the lesson plan, because you may need convincing. It is the heart rather than the head, rather than the hands. So I'm looking at the next page now, which is page 43. And we have a list of activities. Could I ask you to read under the learner column, activity 1, activity 2, activity 3, activity 4. Have a read of those 4 activities. Now, can you tell me why activity 2 would force people to have their hearts in activity 1 and to do it well?
Because they know they're going to be judged.
Yes, they're going to be on show, and if they don't do the preparation in number 1 thoroughly, they might look bad and feel bad. If they do it well, they're going to look good and feel good. So that's an emotional activity, the heart. Can you tell me what is it about activity 3 that will force people to do activities 1 and 2 well, to the best of their ability?
Because, yeah, no, go ahead.
If you know somebody's going to criticise your work, you better get it right. Yeah.
Yes.
You're going to want to look good.
It's exactly what I was going to say. So, go.
And the point is, it's your peer doing the criticism.
Yeah.
Now, if the tutor, the trainer, criticises, well, that's their job. So what? But if your friends and colleagues say, well, that was pretty bad, or that was pretty good, then you might feel, oh yeah, great, made it. So you probably realise, as in life, training is all about psychology. We're trying to create situations in which people feel good. If they're feeling good, they're going to want to participate, get the most out of it, and help others to get the best out of it as well. So you're on a win-win situation for the whole group there. But it's not easy to do, but you can see that this structure here is more than a list. We're trying to now get into the way people interact with what we want them to do and achieve. So slightly deeper perhaps. Let's just explore quickly where else psychology takes us in life. Now I'm looking at road design at the moment. I guess you've all been up and down the M1?
Yeah. Yeah.
Is it fairly curvy or fairly straight?
Straight.
It's fairly
Fairly
straight, isn't
straight,
it? If you look at the
yeah,
map,
it's
it
not.
goes straight up there, particularly to Watford to the Birmingham Tunnel. I guess you've been on the M6 toll road?
Yes.
Yes.
Curvy or straight?
Straight. Well,
Curve-
no, it
that's
curves
curve,
because it
really.
curves round the outside of Birmingham and comes
Curve.
round. Yeah.
Well, why does it do that?
Because obviously it's skirting round the outskirts of Birmingham.
Well, you'd think
and
that, but if you look either side, it's countryside.
Mm.
I don't know if you've noted. So what's going on there then? Why was one of the newest motorways in England built curvy on purpose? And why was the M1 not?
When they built the M1, there was no speed limit on it.
Initially, yeah. And sorry, Ryan, you said?
People concentrate more. There's
That's
no straight
the-
road you can zone out.
That's it. It's the psychology of road design. On the M1, I think statistically there's more accidents because people get bored, it's straight on all the way. But on the M6 toll road, you have to focus. You know, where's the next curve coming?
Mm.
Yeah.
So that's the psychology of road design. Let's look at town design now. Has anybody been to Ashford in Kent?
Yes.
Not for a long time.
Used to.
A while ago. Well, if you've been there fairly recently, in the last probably 15 years or so, you'll notice something quite different. In the centre of Ashford, it's quite a big town in Kent, there are no roads and there are no pavements, but it's full of people and it's full of cars. So how does that work?
It's one of those, yeah.
Sorry?
It's one of those.
It's one of those, yeah. So what does that mean then?
Because there's no physical barriers,
Yeah.
people are a bit more cautious to not go over those
Yeah.
imaginary barriers.
Yeah, because you don't know where the barriers are.
Yeah.
There are none. So everybody goes slow and they take care that they don't, I don't know, walk into a car, or the car driver doesn't want to bump into a pedestrian.
Just come back from Dresden, it's very much like that.
Is it really?
It's, yeah, in parts of the centre it's very much like that, because we're thinking, why are they allowing cars in the square? But actually it works well.
Yeah, because counterintuitively you'd think it would be an absolute recipe for disaster. But it's not.
It's not.
No,
It works. It does work.
it's bizarre. So that's what training is all about. As in life, it's pure psychology. If people are feeling grumpy and fed up in your training sessions, they're not going to learn much. Your reputation and credibility is not going to remain terribly high, perhaps. But the reverse is true. If you give a good experience for learners, then your reputation and credibility will soar, because people want to be trained by you. Right, excellent. Thank you for that. We're now going to focus on aims and objectives. So let's go to page 44, where we've got the first part of the lesson plan. So as I said, we're going to focus on aims and objectives in a moment, but there's a question. See where it says note? So there's the question there. Have a read of the question and let's see what the answer might be. So who do the aims and objectives belong to? Is it the tutor, is it the learner? You've got 50-50 opportunity here. It's the learner. Why do you say that then, Rob?
Because the idea of teaching is to get the message across to the learner,
Yeah.
and so that they gain knowledge.
Yes. You as the tutor, the trainer, that's your job. You don't give your learners your job description. That's what you're employed to do. People take it for granted. So you want the learners to know, well, what on earth they're going to be achieving by the end of the lesson. And if they feel quite excited about that, they're going to want to participate in the first few minutes, because it sounds quite interesting. So let's look at the aim then. Now, aims, in this context, on this course, usually kick off with that phrase. By the end of the session, the learner will develop an understanding, appreciation of, and then you slip in whatever you want to learn. So it's very general, nondescript review of what the whole lesson's all about. For the objectives then, could I ask you to read that paragraph there? Now, I'm guessing some of you come across that SMART mnemonic before, because it's used in so many different areas. Now, when I did my teacher training many years ago, I couldn't quite work out what this meant. So I'll just share with you how I cracked it in the end. I worked out that the specific and measurable bit relates to the tasks that you give people to do. So if the tasks are specific enough, you can measure when they've occurred. However, that's quite different to the A and R and the T, which relates to your teaching and their learning. So two quite separate parts there. Your teaching and their learning. So they can't do the task unless they've learned how to do the task. So that's why the A and R and the T comes in there. Once they've done the task, if it's specific, you can then measure it's happened. So let's look at the first objective there. Now, I know in your book it says number 5, it should say number 1, and then it should say number 2, 3 and 4. Yeah, so I don't know how on earth that kicked off there. Now, in the first objective, can you tell me, in the first line of the first objective, which one word allows me to hear what they've done? When they have discussed. So I know they've done it because they've discussed it. And then in the final, in the third row, so I'm just putting a cross by it there, in the third row, what word allows me to see what they've done? In writing. So that means I can now measure objective 1 because I've heard it and I've seen it in writing. So it's measured. In objective number 2 now, there's one word that allows me to hear and see what they've done when they have presented. Yeah, absolutely. So again, it's specific enough to be measured. I can hear and see it. In objective number 3, there's a word in the final line there, number 3, that allows me to see what they've done when they have.
Structure.
And what have they done to the structured assessment form they have? Completed it. And the same for number 4, completing the quiz. Now, if you can, take yourself back to your school days and your English lessons. I'm sure you'll remember those very vividly. What kind of words are they in the English language? They're verbs, yeah, spot on. Verbs which are doing words. And you're going on to say that adjectives describe and nouns are names. So it probably goes back a few years. So what we're saying is, if you've got verbs in your objective, then it will make it into something that's measurable generally. But if you don't have verbs, then it won't. It cannot be an objective. Let's do a quick quiz on the next page now, where you've got a list of statements. You have got to decide which ones of those are aims, which ones of those are objectives. It doesn't matter if you get any wrong, just give it a go, and we'll see where we are. Now then, looking at the list of objectives then, do you feel you've achieved all 7 of those? What do you reckon? I think you have. So you've done really well. We've had a very intensive day today, so congratulations on that. Quick look forward to tomorrow then. Objective number 1 then, at 9:15 we're going to review the quiz that was on page 49. Objective number 2, we're going to look at the final key theory on the course, which you'll see is listed here. We've just got Frederick Herzberg's intrinsic motivation to do. That's the final key theory. Has anybody come across Herzberg before? Does that ring any bells? He was a soldier in World War II, and he was in American, and he came across the Dachau concentration camp, and we all understand a bit more about them today, but they certainly were shocked when they saw it, for real at the time. And it started his deep interest in human nature, because he thought, how could people do this? So he's got a handle on human nature, and he spent the rest of his life looking at that. So he's not trying to sell us anything, he's just got a deep, instinctive understanding of human nature. So we're going to see himself on video. He died in 2000, and when we see the video we might understand why he died, because he wasn't terribly old. He wasn't terribly young, but he wasn't terribly old. Then the course gets very practical. So in different teams, you're going to be doing some teaching for 15 minutes, and I'm going to give you the topic, teaching aids, learning resources. What are the advantages and disadvantages of those? And you'll have all the information in the textbook to use. We'll then review how those sessions went, importantly. We're then going to finalise the schedule for Monday, day 4. And then in different teams, you're going to prepare for another 15-minute teaching session to look at teaching methods, and we'll have a very formal self-peer and tutor evaluation of how those sessions went. But that's not going to take place, as it says, on day 3, which is the Friday. Finally, thank you, well done. If you want to have a chat with me later, please do. Otherwise, I shall see you tomorrow. So thank you all very much, well done.
Thank you.